On this week's Carrier Wrap, we will talk with Roger Rentner from Recon Analytics about some of the marketing moves made by operators over the past couple of weeks and the impact those moves might have on future operations.
Today's episode is brought to you by Telecom Careers, the #1 global telecom and wireless job board. telecomcareers.net.
Thanks for joining from this week's Carrier Wrap. I'm your host, Dan Meyer, Editor-in-Chief at RCR Wireless News. This week, we are joined by longtime industry analyst and founder of Recon Analytics, Roger Rentner. Hey, Roger. Thanks for joining us this week. We appreciate it.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing great. So, hey, I want to talk a bit this week about, we kind of had a holiday here recently, so we've been off for a couple of weeks, but it looked like over the past few weeks, there's been a lot of promotions coming out from some of the domestic carriers getting pretty aggressive. I know today, for instance, T-Mobile came out with a new promotion kind of targeting AT&T, and Verizon came out with a promotion as well. So it seems like we're definitely in the depths of the holiday promotion season. Maybe digging a bit into that. I mean, maybe looking at the promotions that came out just most recently, the ones from T-Mobile targeting AT&T and the Verizon ones. What's your general view of kind of where we are in terms of this kind of marketing battle going on right now?
Well, we're right in the midst of it. It's now is the season that keeps giving for consumers, and the carriers are pulling out a lot of the tricks. T-Mobile offers a 128 gigabyte iPhone 6S for the price of a 16. So that's like $200 of value. Verizon offers 2 gigabytes. Sorry,
2 gigabytes.
2 gigabytes for their subscribers who pick up one of their large data plans. So it's limited impact there, because not everybody needs 12 gigs and more. But we'll see what Sprint did the half off, and this time they included T-Mobile, which hurts a little bit more than with the other carriers. But we'll see what comes out. It's a good time to be a consumer these days.
That's true. I mean, it seems like at least every week, if not every couple of days, there's some new promotion coming out. Again, like you said, Sprint did their 50% off thing. T-Mobile, came back pretty hard with going to target specifically a carrier each week. They did Sprint initially with $200 extra there. Now, basically $200 that they're giving, to AT&T customers as well. So yeah, it does seem like, obviously for consumers, it is something. It's every couple of days here we got something new rolling out.
And for a lot of the carriers, it also makes financial sense. Because yes, it's $200, but when you look at it, average customers before device spends about $48, $49 at, for example, T-Mobile, $48.99, I think. And their cost of providing service, so their variable cost, is around $7. And then you put in the overhead cost, but that doesn't matter if you or I join them or not. They will not hire or lay off more people in accounting or in for the janitors. So it's like $35 of contribution.
Mm-hmm.
That's about 6 to 7 months of tenure.
Mm-hmm.
So from that perspective, if that customer that joins them from Sprint or from AT&T stays more than 6 months, they made back their investment, and quite likely they're going to stay more. For these carriers, churn has dropped under 2%. And when you do the calculation, 2% means off average life. So it's certainly a good investment, especially when you're a carrier that gets more rewarded on net ads and gross ads than on profitability. That's where AT&T and Verizon have a little bit less movement, whereas Sprint right now gets not, well, the layoff from the fact that, the cash cost per user, when you look at their financial, is around $16, $17, which is substantially more than T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, which is all like in the $6, $7 range.
Yeah.
So they have to bring down that cost substantially. But they get primarily rewarded on net ads or the lack thereof. And so that's why you see these 50% off things. But even if you are a T-Mobile customer going to Sprint at 50% off, you're still paying $25. That's still better than the cost of around 16, 17.
Sure.
And so they make money on that, especially when you hopefully are upgrading and at some point in time get off that plan.
Yeah.
But if you like that plan, it's a good plan.
Yeah, you're not getting off that plan. Yeah, once you sign up for it, you're going to be on that one for a while. But it does seem interesting too, because it seemed like initially when Sprint came out with their plan, the 50% off plan. I mean, that's a plan that basically they're going to feel the impact from a financial perspective. Obviously, they're still making some money, but they're going to feel the financial impact from that plan for the full 2 years, if not longer, that a customer's on that plan.
Yeah, but
where like the T-Mobile moves lately have just been basically throwing some cash on the table, saying, hey, here's $200 right now, basically, to sign up for a regular plan for the most part, or something like that. So it seems like they're taking short-term hit as opposed to a longer-term hit. Is that one way to look at it?
Yeah, yes, but from a Sprint perspective, if it's 25, if the T-Mobile customer comes with $25, that's $8 that they didn't have before.
True.
It's like, it's not, say, what is it, $33?
Yeah.
But it's still $8 that they didn't have before, and every dollar counts.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers there at Sprint at this point.
Exactly, and Sprint has to bring. I think the value for Sprint to bring in people that, in all likelihood or hopefully will tell the gospel that Sprint is actually back and the network is a lot better, is worth that discount.
True.
They need that really good mouth-to-mouth promotion.
Yeah.
I have phones from everybody, but for quite a while, Sprint had here around Boston, we had 2, 3, 4 megabits per second. Everybody else, 10-ish, even more.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and so I didn't even take the phone with me because what's the point? Now, I get reliably 35, 45 megabits per second around Boston where I'm using this phone.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the other competitors are somewhere between 12 and 18. So at least in here or in spark markets, suddenly you have not a 2 or 3 megabit per second advantage. Who cares?
Yeah.
But you have 2, 3 times the speed, and that's quite noticeable. Yeah. And so now Sprint needs just more than these islands of excellence.
True. They need to spread it out a bit. I mean, I'm in an area. I'm near Denver, where obviously downtown Denver, Sprint has made a kind of a big to do about. They have improved the network down there. They've got the 2.5 working pretty heavy down there. So in the downtown areas, it is great, but I'm kind of more in the suburbs, and up here, we don't quite have that yet.
And
but
out.
yeah, they've got to kind of stretch that out a little bit.
Yes.
So that's going to be their challenge, you're right, though, to get that out there to the people.
And that's where the huge advantages of the continued investment that AT&T and Verizon have done over so many years.
Yeah.
It's you feel it because that coverage blanket is thick and heavy in a lot more places than
much warmer out here.
Much warmer out in the suburbs, where T-Mobile is catching up with 700. That makes it a lot better.
Yeah.
And so they just need more of the spectrum, or they need to build more sites. It's a lot cheaper than to build it out in rural areas, but you can also do it in 1900. You just pay 30% more.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It's not unachievable.
Yeah.
To cover nationwide in 1900. You just pay 30-40% more for it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and obviously it does make sense too, because Sprint does need to kind of get that word of mouth changed from their consumers, because I think over the past several years, they've seen the defections out there, and obviously people are leaving, and I'm sure as they're leaving, they're not talking highly about Sprint to their friends and family. So obviously, getting that part turned around has got to be a big part of their move as well, to get that kind of out, to just get that part turned around at least.
And the worst thing is the people who left, and then you convinced to come back, and you disappointed them again.
Yeah,
those are the killer ones. But in the markets where they have built out, hands down, it's good.
Yeah,
there's no reason not to pick them.
Yeah, definitely some big improvements. Yeah. Well, I guess from the financial aspect of this, like you mentioned, it does seem like, T-Mobile and Sprint are in one category where they are being rewarded for just, net adds. That's kind of their big thing right now. Obviously profitability, T-Mobile's making some money, Sprint's losing a little bit of money, but it does seem like for the other two guys, AT&T and Verizon, they're being looked at more as a financial play. Carriers, investors don't seem quite as, worried about the whole net ad part there, because they're doing a lot with IoT and connected devices and things like that. But the margin part of it is a big part for them at this point. And it does seem like, I think we talked a little bit off air. I was saying that I thought Verizon and AT&T are being fairly conservative, but you had said that actually you think they're being actually kind of aggressive to an extent.
Oh, they have been very aggressive on promotions all year long.
Yeah.
And you saw that in the margin hits, where they regularly have been punished by Wall Street for throwing these promotion out there that have hit profitability. But they didn't want to get into that territory of losing customers.
Yeah.
And so they have traded profit for customer. It's very difficult when you come in at the very healthy profit margins that a Verizon has, and you have to trade for customer. Yeah. Whereas if you historically are running at a much lower profit margin, like T-Mobile did, and then you put through really aggressive cost cutting, which T-Mobile doesn't get a lot of credit for, because it's what I always say. T-Mobile gets a lot of credit for the flash marketing and big lip and that, but the unsung hero is really the operational improvements that T-Mobile has done, getting down their cost to serve to $7. What, 3-4 years ago it was like 20s.
Yeah,
that is 75%. 50 to 75% reduction in 3 years. You're taking a lot of cost out of that business, and nobody really paid that much attention to it.
That's true, because they're growing aggressively, and they're doing it by offering really aggressive rate plans, but they have still been able to squeeze out some profits out of even doing that. At some point, if they're able to convince customers that they are a premium type of operator, they keep those costs down low, and they can start raising prices a bit, or at least somehow getting some additional revenues on the side. That's a revenue generating machine right there.
And if Wall Street is happy with T-Mobile's gross profit margin or EBITDA margins in the 30s, it gives them a lot more room to be aggressive on pricing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're an AT&T and Verizon, and Wall Street is used to profit margins in the 40s, then you have a lot more problems on flexibility on the pricing side.
Yeah.
And then you have to get very innovative with new business segments.
Mm-hmm.
And AT&T, when you look overall at AT&T strategy, it is new business models. It is new businesses. And they're much less likely to run dry than if you only are playing in the phone business.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that's really interesting with T-Mobile is how little they have tapped their tablet base. Because for every other carrier, whenever they got weakness on the voice side, oh, here's a new tablet promotion. T-Mobile has very rarely tapped that very easy subscriber pool that they could tap into. If they would be as aggressive as one of the other threes, they can add 10 million more quote unquote subscribers, which is just more lines.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been the amazing part from them, is that they have relied basically over the past 2 to 3 years on just straight up smartphones. I mean, that's all they've been targeting. Obviously, it's a high value market, but yeah, I mean, they haven't really done much. I mean, they've brought some of the promotions to the tablet space, but not really promoted it aggressively, and haven't really.
Comparatively, no. They made a lot of noise out of it. Of, oh, we have this Thanksgiving gift for you, free tablet. They made a lot of noise out of it. But when you look at the actual numbers, they have been of them. And so they have, on tablets, the most room to grow.
Yeah, that's an interesting part. So I guess as we look towards, we have a few more weeks here of the holidays. I know T-Mobile is talking about next week or so coming out with a new promotion targeting Verizon, I guess, at some point as well. I'm guessing, probably something around a $200 price point, I'm guessing. But, as we look over the next couple of weeks, do you expect a lot more activity, or do you think we've kind of, again, we're getting so close now to kind of the end of the year. I'm guessing at some point this stuff could start to, I think Sprint still got a promotion they're going to announce, I think, starting next week as well. So,
yeah, so you have to look at you can actually look at it quite scientifically of if was this a planned promotion or not.
Mm-hmm.
If it's supported by television, it was a planned promotion because it takes 6 weeks to run that TV spot.
Yeah.
So if they run a promotion supported by TV, this was planned. If this just comes out with signage in the stores, and if even that, so the less material around signage in the store is like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
No signage, just like, oh, here's this promotion, then that's like a reaction to what actually happened in the market. So it's like what I always said is, the promotions that are running at the middle of the quarter tell you how the January worked, because it's like 2 weeks. They close January or they close April, and then they're like, oh, this is great, and there's no promotion coming February 15 or what is it, May 15.
Yeah.
But if you have a promotion coming out February 15, May 15, their January or their April didn't go too well. You just have to keep your eyes open and figure out, okay, this is what's happening.
Yeah, no, that's a good, that's a whole different topic we can go up. But the timing of promotions is always very interesting, because you're right. If it's towards the end of a quarter, perhaps the carriers get a little nervous. They need to generate some last minute net ads, or if they put something out, right around the time they're going to announce their quarterly results, perhaps they're not going to do as well as they thought. So they want to kind of divert people's attention away from numbers. Yeah, I think that's something to talk about.
And by the way, the tag at the end, so there's the ad and the tag at the end. The tag in the end you can change in a week, something like that. The whole commercial, that's a lot more preparation that goes behind this.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. So, well, I guess, again, with the holidays, once this all wraps up, as we look at the actual results that come out of all this, I mean, what are you expecting, or what do you think we might see Q4 numbers wise? Do you think some of these promotions have done pretty well? I mean, obviously the Sprint one is very aggressive. T-Mobile's done pretty well. They're giving out some free data to customers, unlimited data. Net. I mean, what's your view so far of kind of how these might have played out in the consumer space?
Relatively speaking, I wouldn't expect a lot of change. The numbers for all of them, there might be some distortion. Sprint might do a little bit better. T-Mobile, I think, will continue to do well. Verizon or AT&T might have to give a little bit more. It has to come somewhere. So we'll see. But we're in the middle of the quarter. The game is not over, and there's a lot of things that can still happen in the next, month or in the next, 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And
so I'm sure we haven't seen the end of all of this again, and it's a good point though, because if they're being very reactive about this, there's still something else out there, and who knows how they're going to respond. And so there's definitely still a lot of room to kind of for these guys to make some moves. So
and we have to remember, December 25th is the most active activation day of the year.
Yep.
Because a lot of people are giving phones, maybe postpaid, maybe prepaid, as stocking stuffer.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be quite impulsive when it's December 24th and you're in panic. What can I give that person? Oh, okay. What can I give my wife? Okay, let me give her an iPhone. What can I give my husband? Oh, he likes a Galaxy S6,
Yeah, that's a big. You're right. That's always one of those days too, where with the activations, and sometimes those their activation services sometimes even get bogged down a bit on those days too. So it's always that's a big challenge for everybody to stay prepared.
And a lot of it is for people's first phone. They get they get the whole thing, phone and everything, under the stalker, and then they open it up, and more often than not, they're delighted with what they see, especially if you're 12 years old. Actually, now they have to be 9 or 10. I think by 12, everybody has one.
When they're 12, they're getting their second device already. They're already after, their 2 years are up, and they're getting their second iPhone or whatever they're going to get now. They're not having the first one anymore. So.
Oh, yeah. It's, I can tell you stories.
That's a different story there. But, so obviously, like you're saying, I mean, there's lots been happening. And like you said, too, there's going to be a lot more probably happening over the next couple of weeks. So, again, we'll kind of keep an eye on what's happening out there. But Roger, we definitely appreciate the insight today on this. Obviously, it's always good to get some good background. You've been in the space long enough. You've kind of been through all the wars. You've seen this stuff enough to kind of know what to expect. You don't get too excited anymore about a lot of these things, which is
well, it is exciting, but you also have to look through the hype.
Yes,
through the things, and with a lot of these changes, what we're missing in that really intense competitive environment where the executives go at each other with a vengeance. You also have to look through it and say, what are the fundamental changes that they're doing? Because despite all the rhetoric, they're very smart people that are doing things that at least make sense to them. It helps when you understand the logic that's behind it.
That's true. But I keep waiting at some point here. I mean, I know in the past we've gone to trade shows, and they'll have all the CEOs from the carriers up on stage at once, and they'll do a little presentation or a little fireside chat or something like that. And we haven't had that for a while. I keep waiting for one of these shows to get Marcelo up there and to get John Ledger up there, at least on the stage at the same time.
Well, I don't think John Ledger as the uncarrier will be caught dead at a carrier event.
I
It
know.
would like go so through against his positioning. I think one of his lieutenants, we might see that is more likely. But I think, yeah, when we had the times of the mergers between when AT&T tried to buy T-Mobile, there was a lot of personal jabs.
Yeah.
And some came afterwards with, when John came. I don't think it helps. It's
It's fun to watch.
Yeah, but really,
It's like a car crash, you know?
unfortunately, yes, and somebody gets hurt,
Yeah, that's a good point. You're right. You shouldn't. Yeah, you're right. It's not fun that way, but you're right. Yeah, I mean, there definitely were those times when Dan Hesse and Ralph De La Vega were up there, and they were trying to get their points across about certain things, and it was.
And they took it personally, and both of them are very good, genuinely good people, generally good human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so it hurt, and I like both of them. I like all of them. But it personally hurt me, and I flinched when people I like are not that nice to each other, or could be nicer to each other, despite all the factual differences.
Yeah.
I think I like an elevated public discourse. What can I say?
That is good. That is true. Hey, it's nice to have someone out there who at least has some standards. That's good to see in this day and age. So we're glad at least you're out there to kind of keep those up there. So that's always good to hear.
Thank you.
Very good. Hey, Roger, again, definitely appreciate the insight on this today. We might not be able to catch up before the holidays, but if we don't talk again, have a great holiday, and hopefully we can catch up in the new year, and maybe we can kind of dissect what happened and see where people went wrong and where they went right.
2016 should get very interesting, and we will have a lot of talk about it. But if we don't see each other, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or whatever else you celebrate.
Whatever you need to do, and Happy New Year, all that kind of stuff.
Have a good time, and a Happy New Year.
That's great. Well, hey, Roger, again, thanks for the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks again for joining us on this week's Carrier Wrap. I want to again thank our guest, Roger Entner from Recon Analytics, to talk a bit about what was happening in the carrier space, and also recommend everybody check us out again next week. Thanks for watching.